Welcome to Sonic Vision's Music Lab and Festival, and it is my pleasure to be your host for the first panel of today. For early in the morning, we've got quite a broad subjects to cover because we have a panel on technology, innovation, business, and management. So quite a lot to cover, and we have 1 hour, so we'll try and make the most of it. Please keep your questions to the end. We'll have a time for this at the end. I'd like to introduce my panel. First, I'm going to introduce myself. So my name is Geraldine Sanosuke. I am the founder of a music consultancy called Compass Music, which focuses on helping artists and music companies develop internationally. I've been working in the industry for the last 10 years as a music promoter, a booking agent, a project manager. So I'm more on the business and management side of the industry, not a tech person myself, even though I've used different technological solution through my career. And with me today, I've got quite a broad panel of speakers, which I'm going to ask themselves to introduce them, what they do and who they work for briefly, and then we'll move on to the discussion. So starting with you, Olivier, if you can introduce yourself and what you do currently and a bit about your career in a few words.
Okay, hi again, everybody. so Olivier Zephyr from Technoport. This is the tech incubator here on Belval. I'm a senior business advisor. I'm a industrial engineering background. So I work with Rocal in the sense of understanding where an industry is going in terms of product roadmap. And I think the panel resuming quite well today, technology, business and management. This is what we believe currently the digital media entertainment industry is going towards too.
All right, thank you, Olivier. Turo?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pekari. I'm based in Helsinki, Finland. I work as a kind of innovation specialist, funding expert, startup and business advisor, and my daily job is to run Teosto Futures Lab, which is an innovation platform run by Teosto, which is the collection society of music publishers and authors based in Helsinki, the coolest performing rights organization in the world, by the way. And even though my salary is being paid by songwriters and publishers, we are still focusing a lot in a wider context to build solutions for the whole music industry and really much focusing on data.
Johannes?
Hello, I'm Johannes Ripken. I was in the music industry for more than 10 years. My main topic was artist development, and I realized that the music industry is so much relationship-driven or networking-driven that I decided to found a tech startup developing a solution for this relationship-building process. So I have experienced the music industry practical side, well, the theoretical side with a PhD on artist development, and then decided, well, I want to be a tech founder, and did this. So I can cover both sides today.
Next we have Colin Lovrinovic.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Colin. I've basically bounced back and forth between content and tech for almost 20 years now. Started quite early. I mean, I've worked for tech companies. I worked for big major labels. I ran my own record label for 10 years. But now for the past 2 years, my focus has been running my own company called Gould, Finch. And we basically are a management consultancy company that focuses on digital transformation, and with a big emphasis on artificial intelligence. So we work with clients from the energy and the finance sector, but we do a lot in the media space, so publishing and music, and try to help our clients to determine which technology is right for them and how to implement it. And sometimes we develop AI solutions ourselves. So same as or similar as you, I've seen the music side and I've seen the tech side, and hopefully I can contribute something of value today.
Thank you, Colin. Gail?
Good morning, my name's Gail Kent. I'm the Director of Data in the DG Connect, which is the Digital Directorate General of the European Commission, and we are the only directorate of DG Connect actually based in Luxembourg rather than Brussels, so I haven't actually come very far today. In my particular directorate, I'm responsible for the policy on data, so making sure that data flows freely between the countries in Europe in order to maximize the possibilities to use for training in AI, but also to make sure we can compete with the other, with China, with the USA, in terms of having enough data to process and to make good decisions. I'm also responsible in my directorate for making sure that the benefits of the digital single market, are also available to everybody, no matter what language you speak, no matter whether you're a child. So I'm responsible for the Safer Internet for Kids program, and also available to cultural heritage and to educational establishments. So I'm really the kind of society rather than the industry side of DG Connect. And I'm British. I'm telling you that just to get a wave of sympathy.
Thank you, Gail. Yeah, we've got quite a number of European countries represented today. And finally, I'd like to ask you guys to introduce yourselves, if I may. So can I have a show of hands for who's working more in the tech side of the industry? Do we have anyone working for music startups or in the field of AI products? Not so much, okay. And so are you more in the music business side? Do we have any artists? Do we have any agents or promoters? Okay, one. Do you have anyone working for record labels? Okay. Anyone in publishing? What do you do? Who are you? Is it the right room? Right, so, well, my understanding is, so there's not that many of you which are specialists in music tech, and me neither. So we're going to try and make this conversation kind of accessible for everyone. But as I say, keep your question for the end. There will be time for it to go through that over. So technology, innovation, business, and management. Obviously, nowadays we've got new technologies and new AI solutions coming up all the time. It's getting better and better. They're getting more efficient. It's getting more powerful. And it's really helping business behavior, network development, and strategic questions. So the first question that this panel was going to try to answer is really, what does it mean for an industry that was really built on human relations and for the different jobs in the industry? So the music industry, it's all centered around the music first, so it's about artists. We call it a music industry, but it's tricky because we're trading with humans and artistic personalities, which sometimes can be really clashing with the more tech side of it. So how do we make them work together? What does it mean to have more a technological side enter this originally more human-focused industry? Would anyone like to start? Johannes, I'll see you.
Well, I still think it is and it will remain a human focus because we are humans, we enjoy the music, and so we need this human relation between artists and fans and artists and managers because it's the only way how we can make an exception to or can decide among the masses of music which is released nowadays. So yes, we can use the tools to support our doing, and well, we need it because there's so much out there. But I think in the end, the decision making is still made between human and human, not based on some algorithms or AI decisions or whatever. So human to human will remain important even when we need and we get this technological support.
So you're defending that, yeah, technology should be a tool and not replace the main
Definitely.
Turo?
Yes, I kind of agree what Johannes is saying, that music industry is still a human-centered industry. Before robots are starting to play gigs to other robots, it's about human people, but at the same time, the business side of music is becoming much more complex. Also, with the help of European regulation and with the digital single market strategy, which has opened the market for different entities to become a part of the whole data and value chain, there are much more companies and organizations providing services for musicians, artists, and songwriters, and publishers, and labels. And how it is done, it's with data. That's what music industry needs to learn much more about. There are probably three big themes where data is playing a central role now and in the future. One is about how to govern digital assets, rights management and licensing. The other side is music creation, of course, with all the new AI tools. I think nowadays it's much more easier to create music than it has ever been, and we are going to see more and more content all around, and how we can manage that, it's also with data. The third theme, which is becoming more and more important, is about music discovery and music recommendation, and basically also about music marketing, and the new upcoming tools where we can use new, very intellectual methods to recommend people new content, not just with the ways we have been used to do, but also, for example, using biodata or your mood data with sensors and stuff like that.
Colin?
When it comes to music recommendations, this is just something you just mentioned that I want to jump in. I think it's a very good example where you see how important it is that tech and humans work together. So if you think about Spotify or Apple Music, when it comes to automatically generated playlists that might suit your needs, it's a great tool to have an algorithm determine what you might be interested in. But I think it's even more enjoyable when that's mixed with human editors. So you can see the playlists where there's just something surprising in there that the algorithm wouldn't have determined that you might like. Just the element of surprise and something new that editors know that the machines can't really determine that this is the one song you want to listen to. So I think that's a very good use case where you can see a lot of the base is built by the algorithm, but then the human touch just adds a whole new level to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way streaming works now, where it got this balance right between algorithm and human editors, because I feel like the risk was going too far into the tech. If it was only algorithm deciding what music we were going to hear, we just end up listening to the same thing over and over again, because you're like, oh, you like this type of music, so you're going to like this song and this songs. But, you know, maybe I don't like just the one type, and also maybe I want to be surprised. And the fact that, you know, streaming still got a few things from radio, and that they have curators. The role of curation in the music industry is so important, I think. There's no way that, you know, technology can help curators maybe with their work and with their workload, but it can't really replace the little something that you can't really explain that you meet in a musician in a band that you really want to share with the world. Jumping on that subject of taking Spotify as an example, as you said, of how the music business side can work with the tech side. We were chatting yesterday a little bit about how businesses from the music industry can try and work better with tech startup, and how it's two different worlds, and sometimes they don't really seem to understand each other. So you're mentioning how a lot of young music tech startups are getting acquired by bigger music companies, and how the way they work is so different that there's a culture clash, really. So we're not agreeing. How do you think bigger music companies can work with young music tech startups and integrate all of their innovation and new ideas and bring into a more traditional business model?
I think it's related to the initial discussion we just started with the relation. Indeed, I think the relation is going to stay human to human, but there's going to be much more things which is going to be digitally related, in the sense that you have this type of digital self type of activation, decision which you need to take. You won't do it face-to-face. Part of it will be handled by technology. Mm-hmm. And startup world currently will produce value at different steps of the processes within the music industry. I think currently tech companies and music industry understand well each other, because the startups per se produce things to value to the industry itself. I don't think there's a real clash, because currently the point is to understand well each other, to deliver value at the different points in which we are talking with. And the industry is getting so intertwined, on my perspective, between gaming. I know people from gaming industry here, from audiovisual industry, and the level of relations that we used to have, I believe, has also changed. And music professionals are much more, let's say, resilient to how they cope on the way they process their activity. I don't believe that you process the activity in the music industry, let's say, just like 10 years ago, given the way the industry itself is operating. And what I feel interesting in the music industry, the change is quite recurrent in compared to other industry. Just take automobile, for example. How many formats we have changed in the music industry?
Everyone agreeing with that?
Well, I think the music industry was the first one which was digitalized. So we had our time when we didn't think that the digital or innovation is good for us. And I'm glad that we are not in this stage anymore. Actually, that was the only thing what I wanted to say on this. So yeah, I see this acceptance. I think a big problem is, even if we have one big player is supporting or saying, yeah, you've done a great tool, it's not sufficient because the music industry is so fragmented. So there's so many small players that you need more than, yes, you're doing a good job from a big record label or a big player. So you have to get this wide acceptance, this wide visibility in the music industry to really have an impact, because there's so much going on. I mean, we have now every year 15 million new songs in the Spotify catalog. In comparison, we had 8 million complete catalog in 2008 in iTunes. So that's a huge difference.
That would be interesting for us understanding also on that point, how much of these songs are used in other industries, for example, gaming, audiovisual, how far that you're able to unite it in one given place, syndicate it in one given place, and how much they are used more to the end user, but in different channels.
I need to add something. As Johannes was saying, music industry was a kind of a pioneer when it comes to digitalization, but actually it was not music industry that was digitalized, it was music consumption which was digitalized, and music industry is going to that direction right here, right now, and we are living pretty exciting times in that sense. And it also offers a lot of possibilities for music creators, whether if they are artists or songwriters or publishers, because there are so many different services and tools already available that you can basically question, do you need a label anymore? Do you need a publisher anymore? Do you need a rights management organization before? Because if you want, you can basically do all of that by yourself.
Yeah, but you can't.
Yeah, but that's kind of what sometimes I feel is a difficulty between music apps and tech startup and the more traditional music industries, because they need each other, and sometimes they don't really seem to realize. Like I've met quite a few people starting, as I was saying to you guys this morning, yesterday. People, sometimes you've got great tech people with great ideas, and they want to start something to help the music industry, but they don't really know, because the music industry is so complex, they don't really understand the ins and out of it, and they create this great product, which is like a completely finished product, but is commercially not viable because they didn't, take the time to talk to the rights holder, or the reality of like an artist touring. There's so many apps nowadays about, everything is, a lot of softwares and apps are promising you, or will help you find dates, and you'll have a full room in front of you, and I'd love to see that happen, but so far it's not really the case. And so that was, I guess, my original question to you, is like, how do we make them, I know that there's already a lot of links between music and tech, but how can we improve the conversation so that it kind of works more, there's more flow, if I can say, between the two areas, really?
I think that's the role of incubation players. Just as in music, we do curate technology, right? And I think the relations within the industry will be digitally mediated anyhow. After all, anyhow, you will make the difference by the solutions which are able to be sustainable and serving their customer within the industry value chain. And indeed, the relation is going to be digitally mediated by startup solutions. At different layers, we were pointing out how consumptions change. Now, even financing has been changing. We have a startups here, a Note Music, who's proposing a novel way currently of mediating relations for financing music. We have another startups working, for example, on how do you facilitate the visibility of the artist producing with a direct connection to its social media. So I believe that the digital mediation is helping, but of course you must create what is the best solution.
And I think really you need to see success stories, and every success story really then triggers new ideas for new startups, but also for a conversation between the two industries or the two parts of the industry. I mean, I used to work for the first German music streaming service a few years before Spotify came along, and it was super hard to explain to people what streaming is. Nobody was using it at the time. It was hard to convince the labels that they should try this out. But as things progressed and as everybody saw that this is a new way to consume music and people want to stream, a lot of new players came along, new companies entered the market, and then a bunch of different startups formed around that, and a whole new ecosystem was born. But it needed that initial start and the realization, yeah, this is something that's going to stay, and this actually works. I mean, the company I worked for went bankrupt in the end, but streaming is still around. And that was really important to see it and to give it a start, to believe in it.
Yeah, but it takes time because, I mean, Spotify, as opposed to it was profitable for the second year in a row now, but you know, it's been a long time coming, if I can say. Gail, you wanted to add something?
Well, first of all, just to go back a minute to the AI side, I mean, one of the big discussions we're having at the moment, because now we're planning our spending for the next 5 years under the next commission, about AI is we want to have a big investment which will be partly funded by the Commission and partly funded by the member states so that we all work together in the same direction in AI. And then one of the questions is, well, what's European AI compared to other places' AI? So our new vice president, future vice president, said in her hearing, you know, China has the power, the USA has the money, but we have the values. And so we're trying to think, is there a third way? Or is there a European AI? And what are the values that we want to embed into the European system? Like fairness, like transparency. So I don't really know very much about music, a little bit about classical music, but that's all. But I mean, one of the things is, I guess, that if something is generating listening content, is it fair for new people? Are people being excluded? Is it biased based on what people used to listen to or what genders used to listen to rather than current situations? So I think there are a lot of, you want to know how the selection, in a way you want to know how the selection is being made and then it's being made fairly. And then the other thing is, I think the European Commission sees that it has a role in funding in order to try and encourage experimentation and for different countries and different medias to work together. So there's the Creative Europe program, which has a number of programs, even one specially on music, which is called Music Moves Europe. But also we have in Horizon 2020, which I'm concerned with, which is the R&D program, and in the next Horizon program. So we're looking at next generation media, emerging technologies, new integrative ecosystems, synergies across different media, which you already mentioned. So to kind of encourage people to experiment and then learn from each other, as you already said.
If we think about AI and fairness and transparency, one of the big upcoming topics, especially in Europe when it comes to small national states, is how people are finding new content in the future, because probably we're going to see much more people using non-visual or non-graphic interfaces when it comes to finding new content with voice search or smart speakers, and it will profoundly change the way how music is being found, and especially for small languages like Finnish, it's a good question how you are able to get your music available for all the people in the world, how they can find it. With AI, yes, possibly.
I mean, the whole ethical topic is very important. I mean, I'm a member of the German Federal Association for Artificial Intelligence, so a couple of the biggest AI companies and also the smallest in Germany get together, and one of the most important topics we discuss is exactly that. But you have to make sure that at the one hand you can still compete with what's going on in the States and in China, but at the same time have certain standards that you uphold very highly. So it's a very important discussion to have, and I'm happy to say that we are having it. We are right in the middle of it.
I think, if I can add a quick one, what we lack sometimes is let's say, collaborative sandbox technology and regulation by the same time. Because the technology is going so quick, but the time we come up to that standard, okay, now we need still to apply it. How do we do that? And it could be really interesting matching both, having a sandbox where you have regulatory and technology.
No, we try and do that, and then of course the other thing is that you don't want to regulate too soon. So we will have a big decision to come up quite soon about whether to bring in new regulations in AI, and you have on one hand you have people saying, don't stifle innovation, it's not yet the moment, things aren't safe, safe in terms of stable, and then on the other hand you have people saying no, we need rules and things like that. So these are very interesting discussions, and we don't have an answer yet. I mean,
actually, one thing that European Commission could also help the industry with is to give us some support for establishing industrial platforms for music industry to connect both technology world and music industry in a safe environment to try to innovate with data and also with regulation, because those kinds of structures are existing in many industry verticals, but in music industry we are still lacking those kind of structures.
Yeah, you were saying yesterday that so it's slowly changing, and we see more and more music tech, not lobbies, but organization by country emerging. Recently, we were mentioning the Music Tech France, which is very recent and was announced at the MAMA last month, and a Finnish initiative as well. But do you feel that there's a need for a more European, between these entities? Is it the next thing coming, or do music tech companies need to organize themselves by country first before taking the next step?
We need to work on a European level if we want to compete against China or US or the other big markets, of course.
It's also an important part of our trade surplus, the creative side. So.
Back to the intertwining between technology, innovation, business and management. My next question would be, how are new technologies influencing the way music professionals work now? Obviously, it's constantly evolving, but how do you feel technology is best applied in kind of everyday life of the music business? How can we make technology work for us, really, in our daily life, in the different music industry jobs, rather than us being sometimes a slave of it? I feel like there's so many new solutions tech-wise nowadays to accompany us at every step of our work. You have a problem, there's probably an app for that, but is it actually helping you? The multiplication of technology and app in our life, is it helping? How can we make this work for us? And I want to ask Johannes your feeling about it, because that's really close to what you do and what you've developed. So.
Maybe first of all, before I just say what we developed, I think the availability of digital tools of the whole digital world helps us to exploit music or find partners anywhere in the world, which is great. On the other hand, the challenges in being visible in this digital world is way higher, because everyone can connect with everyone in the world. So it's a challenge, and it's the advantage on the same spot and the same thing.
Yeah, the world is now, I feel like the world is everyone's playground. You can distribute music so easily, you can get in contact with everyone. Yeah. But it also, we work on such bigger scale than we used to. Like, how do we make the move and the step to handle all of that possibilities? Really, sometimes it's a bit overwhelming. So how can technology help us with managing our workload?
Well, okay, apart from any to-do tools or whatever, with this whole masses of possible partners of deals which you can do everywhere in the world, it again comes down to the human-to-human relation, to the relationship, to the trust of people to collaborate, because it's the only way how me as a business manager or artist manager or label manager can decide in this masses of offers that I first look into my network, into my relationships, into my trusted network to make a decision instead of looking to everyone, because I don't have the time to look on everything. Even when I have AI tools for A&Ring, which are great, it again comes down, I need to make a decision, and I need to make a decision fast and a good one, so I need to take a look into my network. So that's why actually we developed a tool to build relationships, a system which helps the single manager to build relationships to his or her important contacts.
I feel like your company, I'm going to ask you to explain a few words what it does, but I've seen this term emerge recently. You know, we're all used to CRMs, but the term that I've seen recently is NRM, for Network Relation Managers, and I guess Tamanguu falls into this category. So, yes, what's your solution to save us from the implosion of content and emailing and people?
First of all, you do have a focus on your important ones. So even when I have 800 or 1,000 people on LinkedIn, I need to have a focus on my important ones. Otherwise, I'm overwhelmed with information and possibilities. And then I get recommendations and automatic reminders to stay in touch, to stay on the radar of my important people. And I have always a good overview of my communication with the single person. So I can see exactly what I spoke about with Turo or with anyone else who's in my important list, and can, tie in with this. And if I get lost, or so if my communication gets lost with this person, the system takes me back to it and says, well, you should do something here. Well, based on the communication behavior which I did with this person. So
you help you streamline the process of building a network and
building relationships.
Building relationships.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Turo. You've made it to
Thank
Johannes' important list, apparently.
What, Tamanguu?
Well done. I guess that brings into my next question. So your tool is one that can be used by every aspect of the music industry, because we all build networks on a daily basis, no matter what part you play in the music industry. But one thing where I feel like the human-to-human, it's not quite digitalized yet, is the live music industry and booking agents and promoters. You know, you can have everyone on LinkedIn, or you can have all the guides. If you don't know the people, the likeliness of you being booked somewhere falls down a lot. But with those kind of tools emerging, and the fact that we have to deal with more and more people in a bigger and bigger playground, are we going towards some of the jobs of the music industry being replaced, being completely automated? You know, do I need a booking agent? Does a booking agent need an assistant, like a human assistant, or are we going to go towards, like, am I going to have an AI assistant that's going to send reminder emails to all the venue bookers that I've met at Sonic Vision and everywhere else to make this progress? Like, are we going towards some, you know, I feel like, you know, supermarkets have had now cashiers automatic. In every, they're saying that, you know, I can't remember the exact number, but 70% of daily jobs of today are going to disappear in the next 20 years, and we'll all be jobless. Are we all going to be replaced by robots? Like, what areas of the music industry do you feel is going to get more automated and more taken over by AI in the future?
Well, if I can do it, as long as there is human interaction needed, I think, the current AI has to be way more improved to actually replace the human behavior, because from the current, but maybe Colin will say, well, it's completely different, so battle me if you want. I will recognize if something is automated, written to me, or I mean, in personal interaction cannot. Well, Google Assistant, yeah, but it's not the same voice. So as long there's human interaction needed, I think it must be between human and human, not between AI trained by a particular human and human.
I think it's important to understand the limitations of artificial intelligence. So I think it's not a magic wand. You can't just throw it at a certain topic and it'll solve all of your problems. It's also not the Terminator that will destroy us all, at least not in the next couple of years, hopefully. Foremost, it's a tool that we can use for those use cases where it makes sense. And the application case that I'm seeing, most of them are not. Let me start again. I mean, many startups try to get into the creative industries, try to work on content creation using AI. We did a big survey in the publishing or book publishing sector, where a lot of startups try to create content, to create news content. Most of that is crap. And doesn't feel very good and doesn't feel very natural, not like something people want to enjoy.
Are you talking about music being made by robots?
For example, so that's there are companies who are experimenting with it, but I don't think, yes.
Or using AI. No, I had when I was in Vienna for the conference during the Austrian presidency, the orchestra played music which was generated, it was Mozart. I mean, it was done using the data of Mozart, and they played a new piece of music which the computer had written. And it sounded like Mozart, but it didn't have the soul.
Yeah,
and
I
you could
think
tell the
soul is
difference, but it was very
important
good.
topic.
It was very good.
And just to finish that thought, so people are trying to do something in that space, but the results aren't very good, and they're not very good because AI is not very good at anything that's really truly creative, because it doesn't have a mind of its own. So where it makes a lot more sense to implement AI is for all of the things that are very repetitive, that we probably don't enjoy doing anyways. So you can use AI in different marketing aspects or in sales aspects, sending automated reminders and so on. So all of this stuff that takes a lot of time, that's very repetitive, and that naturally can be done by a machine. And the creative part, like the core of the industry that we're all in, that's the last part that should be affected by artificial intelligence. And I think it's important to point that out. So even though some people try to change that, I think that's the last part where machines will take over. It'll be the boring part first.
How about music publishing?
It's true that I'm just going to continue from what Colin was saying. Most of the creative AI stuff for music is pretty crappy at the moment. It doesn't sound good or in any way interesting, but still we don't even know how much we are already listening music made by AI. For example, when you're watching content from YouTube, background music for online gaming and that stuff, most of it is already done by AI. And in those kinds of niche areas, basically, we probably don't need any more humans to do background music, but if we need to bring out quality content, that's still the things where humans are more capable.
I think digital mediation of value will make the thing, indeed. But techies like to play with technology, right? You saw something, but you can create music. That's pretty cool, being able to see to what extent what you can do with it. But after all, the activities and the market, what you need to do, as you pointed out, where digital mediation is meaningful. Otherwise, if you have to issue a bill each time you're selling your music, this is what you don't want to do. But at our incubator, we tested also smart contracts. Because each of the time you're going to deal with a publisher or a label, you're not going to call back again your legal. Well, if you do, that means that your pocket is really good. But you can have automatic relations where your activity could be mediated for meaningful activities. And I believe AI here still needs to learn more from what is more interesting, where we have more of a value, where digital mediations make sense.
Maybe to add one thing to this, when we talk about background music, I think AI products are completely fine because there is no relationship between the audience and the music. When it comes to the relationship between, well, artist to fan, okay, AI might be able someday to support the creation process, but it's always needed to have this original connection from the artist to the fan. And I think that's something which we need to have in mind when talking about AI-written music, that this connection between artist and fan is not replaceable, because it's a point of identification for people with the artist, with the personality of the artist, with the values of the artist, and so I won't be a fan, well, a pure fan of music created by AI, because there's not an emotional connection.
No, you can't ask a machine to sign you an autograph. Or maybe you can. But
well, you probably can, but it has no value to me then.
It doesn't do a great selfie, I guess. Right.
Except in Japan, because of course we have an example already with AI-created artists or who are just digital identities, and even I follow some persons in Instagram who don't even exist. They are just created with AI.
I mean, at CeBIT in Hanover last year, there was a band of robots playing AI music, which was a funny thing. But so people were watching it because it was funny, but that was not the relationship that, yeah, now I'm a fan of this robot band and I will follow everything and will want to buy merchandise and etc. No.
What's so how is it? How is technology going to impact the evolution of the music business in the future, kind of from now on? And I kind of want to ask you, what, considering that you work in kind of various different fields, in your opinion, what is the next innovation that is going to change? Sorry, big question. What is the next big thing, if I can say? What in your mind, what is going to change the music business, and maybe also what do you think? What piece of technology is going to change? Maybe the relation between fan music in the future. What do you think is the most innovative solution that you've came across recently that might change the music business?
Internet of value. The fact that music industry have been going from, okay, buying a physical object, buying a digital piece of something, currently now I'm paying a subscription, or maybe now sharing value where I'm listening. So this is already starting to be tested. Anyhow, maybe the fact that I'm listening to something I'm already curating for my community, and maybe my community is rewarding me in a given way. This is for me the next era of what we call the internet of value. We are just switching from internet of content, putting content somewhere and tracking with whom it's being used, by the fact that taking that information from who is being used and what information we can take from it, and how he's going to benefit from the fact that he's sharing what he's doing with the others. Basically a kind of dynamic curator, which is creating value for himself by listening to music, potentially.
Right, interesting.
What I like about AI is the fact that it's not going to just be like one solution and one thing that brings innovation to the industry, but AI can be used in every single aspect, more or less, of the current music business or any industry really. So it can slowly seep into any part of the business. I was working, for example, with a publishing company, like a book publishing company last year, and they introduced an AI to do automated marketing for them. They increased their backlist sales by 20%. It wasn't a very sexy innovation. They didn't talk about it very loudly. It was just a small change that they made to one small part of their business, and that had a drastic effect on how many books they were selling. And it's just one example, and it's still very early use of AI that they made there. So anything that we see right now can be changed by technology, and I think that's the exciting part, that we can make every aspect better or bigger or more efficient and optimize things. It's not just going to be one thing, I think.
All change. Johannes, to our Gail?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges for the music industry in the future is to make the step from the attention made by playlists on Spotify to knowing an artist and being a fan of an artist. So this moving up this pyramid of artist-fan relations. And I think there's some innovation needed to go a little bit away from the streaming hype, which is just attention, to building artist brands again sustainably and having the focus for the consumers from, well, I listen to the playlist and it's background music for the whole day, like it is with those mixtapes, and you never know which is played right now, but you listen to music which is nice to you, to the switch to the artist brand, so that I emotionally connect with an artist again, not with a playlist. I think that's there's some innovation needed to make this step again, to have a sustainable industry beyond streaming.
Turo?
I think especially for publishing and music rights, a big trend is the ability for music creators to self-govern their digital assets, whether it's done with business automation, machine learning, blockchain, or whatever. But music companies are starting to be companies offering tools for licensing music rather than licensing music by themselves. And another big topic is the pricing of content, which is probably going to change also in the music industry to a more dynamic pricing, algorithm-based or auction-based pricing, rather than the way we are doing it now, closer to, for example, what's being done in broadcasting and advertising world.
Yeah. Interesting point. I'm not sure how much.
Yeah, I just want to say, obviously I don't know what the new innovations are going to be in the music industry, but I would think that one of the big concerns that's going to be coming up is about environmental concerns. I was reading an article yesterday in the Financial Times, where they was talking about the kind of dirty secret of the digital world, which is that it's adding to greenhouse gases and things like that, and that half of all the storage facilities still run on fossil fuels. Yeah. So, I mean, I think there will be a lot of pressure in the next years about greening the whole industry in the digital world. But I don't know in what way. I just imagine that will be the case.
If I can just add to that, it's a super important topic. Something that just came out of Australia is an initiative called FEAT, so F-E-A-T, where artists actually, they saw that problem. They realized they're flying all over the world, not really doing great things for the environment. So they started more or less like an investment fund run by artists that invest in renewable energies. So it's basically an investment fund. They are very technology driven behind it, but they put their money in making the energy cleaner. It's run by artists. It's not a music topic per se, but it originated from their creativity, and it's quite an interesting thing that came out there.
Yeah, I think there's a very interesting point, and one that we don't mention too much. I think it's a whole new, different conference, really. But I think, how can technology can help green the music industry, which is a really not green industry. I mean, we've had solutions where, now that everyone is streaming, you're like, cool, we don't need to press a billion CDs that are all going to end up being destroyed anymore. So that's positive. But what you don't necessarily think about is I'm streaming most of my music, and that consumes a lot more data than just me putting on my CD over and over again. And that's not really something that, I feel like I'm inherently conscious, but I didn't really think of that until not that long ago and realize that.
I didn't even realize till I read the FT article yesterday. So.
Don't you think if we have regulated peer-to-peer 15 years ago, we won't have even need to invent blockchain? So that could be.
That'd
you see,
be great.
we're regulations, limitations, yeah.
I'm not sure how much time we have left, but I think this might be the time to take this to the audience. If you guys have any questions for our panel, now is the time. Make yourself known. Do we have a mic to go around? Yeah, we do.
Hi, my name is... You hear me? Yeah. My name is Jocelyn. I'm working for a company called Jamendo. It's a platform for artists. It's a Luxembourgish company. My question is about volume and quality. You said during the presentation that the worldwide catalog was about 8 million titles some time ago, and now it's 50 million titles.
Every year.
A year?
Every year.
Every year, okay.
At home.
I think that's around 30% of the streaming catalog is not listened even once. And I was wondering what were your opinion about this illusion, about the fact that we could connect every artist with the whole world, and if we had any quality left in this.
Actually, if I can take, actually that's what I wanted to say when I said you can't to later earlier. That well, there's an illusion, in my opinion, that everyone can take on his own career by himself and or herself, and you can't do it without a strong team. So. There's so much music out there, so it is not possible, in my opinion, that every song is heard or every song gets noticed. So again, it's only advice: find a strong team to stand out of these masses. And I mean the problem. Well, it's not it's a problem from the music exploitation, but not a problem of music releasing. There are no gatekeepers anymore, so it's not. You don't have to press any CD, which is risky. You don't need to have a label to distribute music. So everyone can put out the music, but that's only half of the rent that you put it out, or you create it and put it out. The next energy needed is for marketing and exploiting it.
Yeah, I think it can create the illusion of success. I think it's never been as easy as you say to make. You can make music from your bedroom. You can distribute it and make accessible worldwide through 3 clicks on a distribution company. But is anyone actually gonna listen to it? And where does technology stop? You made a great album. It's available everywhere, yet no one ever listened to it. If you were going to make money out of it, there would be great tech solutions for music publishing, so you get your royalties fast. But you still need a human team to bring that forward and make you go above the crowd.
Maybe to add on, this hasn't been different 10 years ago. A friend of mine, and Colin knows him as well, did an analysis of big German music download shop back in the days when they were big. And he found out that 60% of all releases had less than 10 sales. 60% less than 10 sales. So it hasn't been different back in the days. And nowadays it's I'm wondering how much percent of the music on Spotify has less than 1,000 streams. Maybe 90%, I don't know.
Million, yeah. I remember there's 40,000 new songs on Spotify uploaded every day. Yeah, and I think that's just a Spotify number, and maybe don't quote me on it, but I think it was 97% of that is never listened even once, and that was just Spotify.
That's crazy, yeah. But it's a reality, so you need a strong team or strong partners.
Does that answer your question? Yes. Any other questions? Can't really see much, so can anyone see a hand up? No. All right. Is there anything that you would like to add from our panel? So I'm turning. Any last thought?
Just to add on what Johannes just said, I mean, the music industry is still a great and fun industry to be in, and being an artist is great, and many people have that dream and want to do it. Technology can help you achieve your goals quicker, maybe, but like I said before, it's not a magic wand, so that doesn't mean that everybody will be successful. There's still, most of the artists are not going to be able to make a living. Just because you want to be an artist doesn't mean that you will become super rich and super successful if you use the right tools. It's not that easy, otherwise I would be making music right now, instead of sitting here maybe. So it just changes access, and it changes the dynamics of the industry, but it's still tough, and you still need to be lucky, and you still need to be super creative and do really cool stuff. And that doesn't mean that you will definitely be successful. You can take luck into your own hands a little bit more than you could in the past. I would say there's less gatekeepers, as you pointed out, but it's still hard. It doesn't mean that just if we use the right tools, we're all going to be winning at this.
Yeah, I think it brings many subjects of like where the industry can come through. And I've read many articles recently that said, you know, we've had the era of the superstars, and with so much music available nowadays, we're going towards more of maybe there'll be more artists being able to live off their music, but they will all reach less success. So maybe we won't have a new Rihanna every 2 years, but we'll have more artists building up a smaller following, but a stronger one, and so they can live off of it. I think so. Maybe to kind of sum up that panel, I think we're wealth of initiatives available around the world. I think Europe is doing its part to try and be competitive on the world stage when it comes to innovation and technology. So there's a lot of new music startups coming up in Europe that can help artists, artist managers, and rights holders to help them progress in their career. But as you all said, I think this needs to be kind of put into context. And there is no magic wand. AI won't save the world or make the greatest new hits necessarily. There's still a lot of, it's still at the heart of it is, as you say, is a connection between an artist and a fan. So for the musicians out there, I know there weren't many, but keep working at your art. For the managers, keep mingling, because this is still very important in today's society. So you've got a great opportunity here at Sonic Visions. So you can go and have some human network relations talking about AI. That would be my advice for the next 2 days. So without further ado, I'd like to thank our panel for their insights today. I think if you have any questions or you want to bring them to them, they'll be sticking around for the next few minutes. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of Sonic Visions.